All right, 9 o'clock. Beer time. Gasoline Dreams Hazy New England Style IPA. We'll give it a second. Tyler be on. It's what's up, Shane? We'll give it a second. Ando, good to see you. There we go. All the good stuff. I don't know. It's been a pretty solid week so far. What's happening, man?
What's up, Chuck?
All the good stuff. What's the hat you got on tonight?
Oh, it's Berkeley Supply is the name of the company. It's a guy who runs like a menswear shop up here in Denver, but it's like a spin on he's like a big I think he's a big Boston fan, so it's like a spin on the Red Sox logo. On the inside of it, I don't know if you can see it. It actually says Eli Sachs. So, yeah,
Awesome.
cool little spot. Cool little spot. It's like salvage denim and all that fun, good stuff.
Yeah. All the stuff that's
All the
good to
stuff I
go.
enjoy.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
But yeah. How are you, man?
Doing all right. Pretty quiet week for the most part. Working on a couple things here in the shop. A watch strap with edge paint, which is what it is.
Pains me
It'll be,
just to hear that.
what's that?
I said it's painful just to hear that.
Yeah. No, I will say that I'm always much more a fan of the burnished stuff, but this particular one, the person wanted a nubuck calf skin on the exit outside of the wallet. You can't burnish that stuff, so you're in edge
Yeah,
paint
you got it.
territory. Um,
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, and I know we've talked about it on here, it's like, it sucks. Like, it sucks. You know, in that watch strap, I mean, you'll probably do what, like probably 8 coats of edge paint, 6 coats of edge paint or whatever on it. And it'll take 2, 3, 4 hours if you do it all in one sitting. Like, it does look nice when you're done with it. I mean, it's not my style, but
yeah, I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
So I bought some of the because I had used the Giardini stuff before,
Yeah, that's
years
what
and
I've
years
always
ago,
used.
and didn't like it, didn't care for it. Thought that it left just a big kind of rubbery edge paint that I didn't dig.
Yeah,
Um,
this stuff
yeah,
right
there you
here,
go.
Giardini. Yeah.
Yep. But I with the buckle, I ordered some of the dense edge coating and then the paint itself.
Uh,
Pretty painless.
yeah.
Um,
Is
I
it like
think the
is it a two-part process, or is it just you got to like are you putting down like a strengthener or anything like that, or like a bottom coat, or are you just
yeah,
going one
yeah. So
shot?
it's the bottom coat, which is, let me pull it out. Um,
Because that's the only way that I thought I might have been able to do a better job on some of the stuff that I've done is by doing exactly what you're talking about right
yeah,
here.
it's that stuff. It's the um, base coat
Max. Yeah.
that does really well. Um, with just the plain brown on top of it.
Yeah.
And I picked up one of these little jobs because I've got one of these and I've got one of these,
Yeah.
and I
I
think I
got
like that one better.
Yeah,
Um,
the thing is, it gets a little bit. I got the same one. It gets like a little bit. I got like a Tandy one, but it gets a little bit like gunked up at the top. Is the one thing that I've
yeah,
kind of noticed. The one thing that, and I'm sure you've seen, just because you've definitely gone down these rabbit holes. But like honestly, I think I had maybe the most success with just using like an awl,
yeah,
and just dipping the tip of the awl and kind of letting that like drop kind of drag across that whatever
yeah.
millimeter of space, which is tough.
Yeah, you take kind of the surface tension and let the awl kind of pull the paint.
Yep, exactly. I mean, I haven't done the edge painting in probably 2 years. So, well, that's good.
Oh,
I got to stare. I'm staring down a project for a gentleman that's going to be made out of natural ghost leather.
oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be great. I mean, but it's you know how it is. Like any time. Like, I mean, this thing is unscathed right now. Like, it's just perfect, and it's just not going to be perfect. You know, as soon as I start doing this thing, or whatever. So, like, I've been looking at it, like trying to cut out this template that I made, and I'm just like, it's just too nice of a panel right now to ruin. So that's like like I'm not stopped because I don't want to do the project. I'm just like every time I come over here, I'm like, kind of just like this panel the way that it is.
Oh, yeah, no,
So
that's completely real. That's the like this piece of leather is so beautiful. I kind of don't want to cut it,
yeah, yeah,
um, but at some point you have to.
yeah.
Um,
Probably tomorrow.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I will say this Giardini stuff does really well with bends or whatever.
Yeah,
So versus the acrylic stuff, so it's
like it's not cracking. You're saying?
yeah, yeah. I mean, not cracking, not bending, not any of that stuff. So I'm kind
Yeah,
of optimistic this whole thing will go, or at least the edge painting part of this will go relatively seamlessly.
yeah.
So
I think out of the six edge painting projects I've done, I bet 3 or 4 of them have been watch straps, and I've used the Giardini on all of them. And I would say the same thing. Like it's for a watch strap, it's it's not a wallet that doesn't fold and whatever, right? Like a watch strap is constantly bent,
right,
right? So
yep,
I probably overkilled it and did like I don't know 10 coats of freaking edge paint on that stuff because I was like I don't like sanding it down and so on and so forth. But like I was just like, I mean, if this thing's going to constantly be bent,
right,
the last
right,
thing I want this thing to do is crack. So I even did a couple of them, like Louis Vuitton, like a bag that I had gutted and used it to make watch straps, and it actually looked great. I actually got the edge paint I got like matched the Louis color pretty good.
yeah,
Um, so that was the only time I was like, oh, I kind of want like a Louis Vuitton watch strap. I've never ever said that once to myself, but they came out pretty good.
yeah.
So
No, I was actually really pleasantly surprised with how well it came out with a minimal amount of effort. Because that was not my experience years ago.
yeah,
Um, so
maybe it's one of those things, man, where like you just put it away for a long time and then it comes back. Comes back a little bit friendlier. It doesn't rear its ugly head or whatever. Um, I mean, that happens like, when I give projects like 2 or 3 days or whatever,
yeah.
let alone a couple of years, from edge painting, like you're like, oh, this didn't suck nearly as bad as it used to.
Oh yeah. No, and I will say that I have consciously been avoiding this particular project. I got the leather in last week and just haven't had a whole lot of time to work on it. But um, I had time on like Monday and Tuesday, but I just didn't start it because I was like, ugh, I'm really kind of.
Edge
So
paint.
on Monday I dorked around and for everybody that's watching, it's if you're doing something like that, and it's so I had never worked with this nubuck calfskin before, so I was like, okay, cool. I know I'm going to use this English bridle on the back, so I'll just glue some up together, trim it down, and paint it, and just kind of practice on that before I get kind of mentally invested in making the strap itself. And it worked out. And maybe it's because I had some success with the painting that I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to jump into doing the rest of it at this point.
Did
Um,
you, is it padded, Chuck, or no?
yeah. So
Padded.
that's the back of the lining strap with the
Nice.
reinforcement piece on it. So I like the way those look. They're a complete pain in the ass to make.
Yeah, I've never messed around with it.
I mean, the people that make padded watch straps like as their thing, like they're
Yeah.
like I do them, and when people, I don't regularly offer them, but if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I'm looking for a watch strap, I'll make one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they are so fiddly and precision oriented
Yeah.
that it's just at some point they're And you know, I run through this cycle of like somebody wants a watch strap, and I'm like, oh fuck me, a watch strap.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and then you start to make one, and I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't so bad.
Yeah.
And then you finish, and it turns out really well, and you're like, wow, that was really awesome. And then you're like, that was super fun. I want to do a bunch of watch straps until a couple weeks go by, and then you're like, oh man, I don't want to do any more watch straps, like ever again.
Right. Right. Yep. That's how it is, man. That's how it is. Well,
So
I'm
it's
glad.
everybody has those things, right? That they
You know, the thing that bothers me the most about watch straps and why I like the ones that I've done, I've kind of stuck to like Apple watches and nothing like super fancy or padded or whatever.
yeah
You know, I've messed around with liners and you know, and I've thought I don't really like leather watch bands just because I sweat too much and I don't know. I wear like a
yeah
running
no
watch.
I don't wear
Yeah,
white
it's not
watch bands
me.
at all.
Yeah. So, but I did just have coffee the other day with a guy who I made a watch strap for like 6 months ago or whatever, and he was showing me, and it looks incredible. And I was like, wow, I kind of wish I want one. But my issue with watch straps is like if you really want to do even one watch strap, like, and you are just, I don't know, a run of the mill maker, whatever. You've been making wallets, you've been making, I don't know, even bags. Um, the stuff you need to make a watch strap is like actually pretty precise. Like you need, I mean, you could do the punches by hand for the holes. You can do the little notch for the watch band by hand if you really need to. But there's like you need the whatever the tool is to like get the prong out of the watch. Like there's like 5 or 6 like really
Yeah,
important, none of them cost a lot of money, like none of them are expensive, but there's like
yeah.
five or
Like
six. Yep.
you need one
Yep.
of these
Yeah.
things that's $5, $6, $7 or whatever it is to
Right.
get.
And the hole punch, like I think like the 6 hole, you know, whatever watch strap punch is probably, you could probably find it cheap for $20. The notch cutout's probably $10, $15 or
Yeah,
something like
it's
that. But
one
if
of
you
those.
but if you try and do it without those tools, like I tried to do my first watch straps just with like, you know, my regular 3.85 millimeter chisels, or even probably 4 when I did my first one,
Yeah.
like yeah, it'll look good, right? But you look at the guys who are making custom watch bands, like you just mentioned, like I mean, they're using fucking like 2.5 millimeter spacing chisels, and it looks freaking dialed in,
Oh
right? And
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, so it's like I don't know. In order to like go down the custom watch band path, I think you really got to commit to it, because if you're going to make one custom watch strap a year or every 2 years or whatever it is, like that little tool that you have right there is going to sit around, you know, and
Oh
all
yeah.
those little things are just going to, because there's no other use for it. Like you're not going to use a punch that has 6 holes lined up in a straight line this far apart for any other
Oh,
project.
oh yeah. Absolutely. And that's kind of the business side of it too. Is don't go run off and buy that punch for one watch strap and think, oh, I'm going to use this.
Yeah, you won't.
You won't.
Yeah.
It'll. I mean, I have. I still have. What's this one? Um, that's one of those oblong
Yep.
slot tools that I used it once for one commission, and I haven't had another one since.
Right.
For a guy
I
that
didn't.
had a Panerai watch and wanted a very specific Panerai pattern for the holes or whatever, and to use the Panerai buckle, which is wide with a wide tongue.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, and I think it may be Crimson. It might have been, who sells this? Camovan. So it's
Okay.
not Camovan. It's Crimson. So it's a
Nice.
Crimson punch.
Nice. It's probably a $75
Yeah.
punch.
And it was it's doing this stuff, right? So I mean, you buy that punch, and maybe I charged him $150 for the watch strap, and half of it got eaten by the punch.
Right. Right.
And you tell yourself, oh, I'll buy this $75 punch, and then I'll make a
Yeah.
bunch more of these things.
Yeah.
It never happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm sitting with
Speaking of,
a $75 punch in my drawer that could have been 75 bucks in my pocket, as opposed to whatever.
yeah. Speaking of that, I got to get I got to get rid of some tools here. Just some like stuff that I don't ever use. So that just reminded me that like maybe this weekend I'll try and get rid of some of these tools to people that I'll actually use them, just because number one, I need more space, and two, I mean, they just sit here and they're like perfectly good tools that I thought I was going to use, like French beveler. Like
Never used it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've used it like 4 times, and then once it was like not sharp anymore, I was like, I'm good with this. But yeah, anyways, yeah, lesson learned. And I mean, I
Is it a Palo Santo French edger?
Palo Santo #8.
Okay, so what you can do with that Palo Santo edger is you can
Strap it with leather.
no shoot Bill a DM and you can exchange it out.
Oh,
So
really?
he will take the
Put a new one
unsharp
in.
one in and send
Yeah.
you a sharp one.
I mean, you can definitely sharpen these things somehow. I just don't know exactly. I've just been using like kind of like leather and some compound. It's been fine. I just don't make enough. Like I don't really do many like straight line kind of like
Yeah.
like T pockets, and even I'll do it sometimes like when I'll do like a rolled edged if it's like thick 5.5 ounce leather on a bag, just so it stays and it glues better and whatnot. And
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
so much bulk, but I truly don't use it like a ton. You know, it's one of those things where I was like, oh, I'll get it because it'll help with this one project, and then that project came and went, and yeah, it's sitting here, right? Same thing with like I got like one of the what are those like bell knives, I guess, or
Oh yeah,
what is that?
the head knife, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, greatest purchase ever. I'll use this to cut out all of my like square wallets and pockets and stuff. And like, shit, that thing's never been
Nope.
used.
Yeah. No, I mean
I don't even know
that's one that I truly have never bought.
oh, I got sold on it. I was like, man, this thing's so badass. If I could use this as like my go-to, like I could get rid of my X-Acto knife that's 5 years old from Tandy. I'll use this sweet knife for all my stray cuts. Never.
Yeah.
Never. But
Yeah, no,
it
and
was,
it's you watch people like Ben Geisler using those head knives and they're like, doing all this incredible stuff with them.
right.
They're
Doing
like,
everything.
yeah, right. And you're like, yeah, that's not me. You know what I'm good with? I'm good with this
Yeah.
utility knife.
Yeah.
That's what I'm good with. Like I can't, a big head knife is not a tool for me.
No.
I mean, and again, like any of that kind of stuff, it's you have to also be willing to put in like the time and effort to learn how to effectively use the tool, and it's work. I mean, you're gonna mess stuff up with it. So
Yeah.
when you get past a certain point, you're like, you know what I don't want to do? Try and learn a new tool that's going to jack me up or slow me down.
Right.
I'm good with what I got.
Right.
So
Right.
can people with a head knife, take it and rock a straight line that's, freaking 10 inches long? Yeah, absolutely. But you know what else I can do? Lay a ruler down and use a utility knife.
Right. And not to mention, like, and the part that really like pains me and why, and I kind of just alluded to it, is like, I mean, with this X-Acto knife like you have, I mean, it's pretty simple. Like when this thing starts to suck and be tough to cut with, I throw it out and I get a new one.
Right.
Like I don't need to worry about trying to figure out how to get the right, radius on a sharpener, or strap or whatever. It's like,
Right.
I just need to worry about cutting something out in an efficient manner. So
Right.
I always go back. I've tried to get rid of this thing like 5 times. Like again, this was like the first knife I ever had. I used different X-Actos. I got one of those James brand knives because I thought that was going to be great. That was too small, like barely fits in my hand. I got all of like the X-Acto, like whatever, like the pencil grip ones for like, oh, I'll use this for all of my curves and whatnot. I still use this fat X-Acto. It's not even a Stanley. It's a Persona.
Right.
Persona.
It's an off-brand
Yeah,
utility knife.
it's got like finger grip wear on this thing. A patina on the knife is incredible. People go nuts for it. People go nuts for this thing. They don't even think it shuts anymore.
Nice.
Yeah. Doesn't even flip shut ananymore.
That's awesome.
Anywho, so yeah, there's my knife spiel, or my used tool spiel for a little bit. But
Yeah.
I had did a little market pop up this weekend, which was
nice.
Which was good, for what it's worth. Early season May markets are not ideal, but I signed up because it was a low hanging fruit. Didn't cost me anything, or it cost me very little, I should say. So it was like, if I lose $20 for setting up or whatever, at least I got to hang outside and drink a beer for a couple hours and shoot the shit with some people. But I mean, May market in December, or sorry, May market in Denver, outside, like is a pretty aggressive, sign up or whatever. So it was fine for what it's worth. I had the weekend off, but I did that. It was nice to just shoot the shit with some people and set up like a little spot, bring some stuff out of the closet that hasn't been touched in probably a year. And do that whole thing or whatever, which is good. And I think I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna pop up again not this weekend, next weekend. Hopefully the weather was beautiful. I just think that I don't know. I think people like Memorial Day is kind of like, oh, okay, I'm gonna like start doing summer things, and like start like going to farmers markets and shit like that. I mean,
oh yeah.
Just like May, whatever it was like May 5th. Like it's pretty damn early.
Right. Yeah, I mean, especially for Denver, it's still kind of chilly out.
Oh, dude, it's been pouring rain and 48 degrees out for the last like 24 hours straight.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, the mountains got like 10 inches of snow.
What?
Yeah, today. So some of the mountains, like a couple of the mountains out here, will stay open for probably another. One of them will stay open for at least another month.
Yeah, that was. So we got married in Vail, and we got married the second week in April.
Okay.
And it was like the last weekend it was open. And that particular year, it was the last weekend was open, and you could see dirt patches on the slopes.
Yeah.
I mean,
this year's been wild. Like, I mean, I know a lot of like the bigger resorts kind of like, and I don't know if it's like, I at some point, I think skiing, there's like a point of no return, right? Like the amount of people that you have to staff to keep the mountain open for one day is astronomical, right? Versus how many people are actually coming and skiing. So like, big mountains like Val, like Aspen, some of the bigger places, whatever, like, they're like hard deadline is like April 20th or whatever it is. But then you have like some of these like smaller, I don't want to say like mom and pop kind of places, but places that like literally they get into like pissing matches every year to see who's going to be the last one to like stay. Like, and it'll get down to the point where like you'll ski, like they'll have one run open, and it'll be like, hey, we're open, but it's like, like, yeah, you're skiing on 3 inches of whatever, but this year, like legitimately, like there's mountains that still have like feet of snow,
right?
And it's mid-May, so I mean, I had a buddy, we did like a little Cinco de Mayo thing last Friday, birthday party for a friend, and they my buddy was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna get up and ski on Saturday, and I was like, dude, no chance.
Nope.
But I mean, again, like now, like shit, they got 10 inches of snow just overnight tonight. So I mean, that probably buys them at least another 2 weeks of being open,
No, I was about to say, like 10 inches of snow yesterday means there's a shitload of people that are going to probably hook you tomorrow.
Oh God. Oh yeah. There'll be, I think it came down, like this morning, I want to say like late last night into this morning. So I bet a lot of people like were just like, fuck this. Like I'm going to get one more day of skiing in. And like, I'm kind of like in that boat because I haven't skied since shit. Like I think I stopped like second week in March, maybe first week in March, because I just didn't want to like risk getting hurt for the marathon. So I was just like, this sucks. I don't want to, like, I got in a lot of days, but I definitely could, like, I could still be skiing right now. Like could have probably got in another like 10 days before Boston. I just like did the smart thing and packed it in. And now I'm just at the point where I'm like,
go tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like I still have my ski rack on the car.
I was about to say, I was like, I know you still have the ski rack on the car.
Yeah. I got the ski rack on the car. I mean, it's doable. I just can't. I can't wrap the problem is like I can't wrap my head around it. I'm like, it's been 75 and 80 in Denver. Like, how do I just shift to like going skiing tomorrow? So that's
It's easy.
Yeah, just do it. Now I got too much shit going on.
No, I
got too much shit going on.
I'm the person that feels guilty about, I got a solid 2 hours of work to do on Friday. I can't just take off and go skiing.
Yeah. Well, I will say this winter was awesome because last year when we first learned how to do it, I started a new job. So I was like kind of like just trying to play by the rules, right? So like we went skiing on the weekends. This year, after I saw how empty the office was last year, I was like, screw this. Like, I was like, there's no way that just casually, like 4 people are always out on every Friday from freaking December through February. I was like, something's up here. So I like started on Fridays, like just dipping out. Like I'd do a little, I'd get to the mountain, I'd sit there and I'd do like an hour's worth of work. And then I would ski for 3 hours, be done by noon, and home by like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and like still able to do like 3 hours worth of work on like Friday afternoon when everyone else is already checked out, right? Like everyone on the East Coast at 4 o'clock my time, at 6 o'clock they're having dinner.
Right.
So like it was pretty quiet, right? So like I'd like stop off at lunch, grab a beer, sit there, answer a couple emails, go back out, a couple more runs, and then get in the car and go home. And it was pretty nice. It was pretty nice. I got into a pretty good run, like in January, February, of like almost every Friday. There's like a local mountain here that takes like an hour to get to, and there's never traffic, and no lines. Like you can get 15, 20 runs in before noon if you really hit it good. And
that's awesome.
I don't need more than that, right? So they're closed now, but it'd be fun.
Huh. So you basically buy a lift pass or whatever, and you're just hit it for a couple hours, and then that's it.
So I have the I don't know how familiar you are with it, but like I have like the Icon Pass, which essentially I don't know when this happened. Like I only spent skiing now for 2 years, but like you have private mountains, like not even Val, but like so Val, for example, just because I know you brought it up, Val is grouped under the Epic Pass, right? So which is actually Epic Pass is owned by like Val Resorts, which owns God knows how many resorts in the country, like ski mounts and shit like that.
Okay.
So basically what happened, I think like 5 to 8 years ago, is like you had 2 brands basically pop up, and you had, I don't know, 50 mountains throughout the country basically kind of decide to go with one of these 2 passes, right? So there's 50 mountains on the Epic Pass, there's 50 mountains on the Icon Pass. And then there's God knows how many mountains that are on neither of these, that where you and I just go and you spend whatever $150 for a lift ticket, and you do your thing,
right? Or
you get like a season pass to their mountain. But with the Icon Pass, essentially, you pay, I think it's like $1,000 for the year. I think there's like some blackout dates, or like for example, like we could go to Steamboat, like I think 7 days. You can ski 7 days in Steamboat. We'll never go 7 days in a year. But yeah, it's like it's unlimited, right? So like as long as you get to as long as you get in like 5-7 days of skiing for the year, like your pass pays for itself essentially. So I didn't feel bad going and skiing for 3 hours, right? Because I got in 20 days of skiing this year, right? So just it's not a lot of people, unless you like ski in Vermont, or unless you ski I don't know, some of those kind of mountains, Stratton, Killington, like those places, like I don't think there's many other places on the East Coast that are falling into those 2 passes, I guess, if you will. Right. So it's definitely like a Denver, Utah. They're pretty much all their mountains are on one of these passes or whatever. But yeah, so basically I think I got in 20 something days this year. So I made my money and some, if that makes sense. But again, like if you go skiing 3 times and you buy the pass, like it's a pretty expensive day of skiing,
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had never once been snow skiing in my whole life, because I blew my ACL when I was in college, and I'm like, so cool, I'm never gonna ski because I'm not willing to risk popping my knee open again.
Right.
So I've never really done it, but I've been to ski resorts in the summer. I've just never been in the winter.
Okay.
So Proper Penguins asking you got the Icon again.
Well, Adam knows I got the Icon. He knows. Me and Adam skied a couple. I think we got in a couple days this year, which was good because we got in 0 last year. Adam snowboards, and he's very good at it compared to me, even though I ski. But we'll have to get some more times, and I guess obviously this year, Adam, we got to figure out our work schedules. That's the problem. Now that I like know the winter flexibility or whatever, I think maybe the move next year is to take off Wednesdays instead of Fridays, because Adam gets Wednesdays off, so that's when he snowboards. So, but I work on Wednesdays and he works on Fridays. So, anywho, but might be a good segue into when you come out here, Chuck.
Yeah.
The three of us linking up, and then so yeah, you're out here. Would you say you're out here from the second through?
Second through like the 9th or 10th.
Second through but you're gone in Moab for a couple days, right?
Yeah. So we're planning on showing up in Denver on the 2nd.
Yep.
Probably leave for Moab on the 3rd.
Yeah.
We go Bronco off-roading in Moab on the 4th.
Let me pause you. Let me pause you here, because what I should be doing right now is I should be in the car on the way to Moab. We were supposed to go this weekend and we backed out. Yeah. It was gonna be our first time out there. But long story short is I think I told you, we sent the dog away to like doggy junior college, community college, and we just got her back like a week and a half ago, and like wasn't about to like spend all that money and then drop her off with like a cousin for 5 days and like just have everything that she learned be ruined. And you can't take the dogs to Moab because it's a national park. So
right.
That got foiled. So long story short, we were supposed to be going to Moab. Like I wouldn't be on this right now. We were supposed to be in wherever, and we were going to get up tomorrow and go like BMX riding, or like whatever, BMX biking, whatever, off-roading, whatever you want to call it. But
mountain biking, whatever.
Mountain biking. I'm super jealous. You're doing it in a Bronco?
Yeah. So that's my buddy Jeremy. He's a developer, and when the Broncos originally launched, he basically, not nefariously so, but figured out how to do. Ford didn't properly protect, their API calls into like how to do all the pricing stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Jeremy, being the developer that he is, figures out how to hit those Ford APIs and get like all the options and everything else on a Bronco before they were publicly available. He's a Bronco dude. Like for 20 years, his car in high school was a '76 Bronco. He still has it.
Oh no shit.
To the point, like, he put it up, he was like, it's just sitting there in my driveway. I need to get rid of it. So he put it up on Craigslist for like 20 grand. And he was like, I had to take the post down because so many people were messaging me about it.
Probably got overwhelming.
got overwhelming because it was like, people were like, I'll give you 50 grand for it today. Yeah. He's like, I will drive to your house with $50,000 cash if you will sell me that Bronco today. He's like, slow down. Right, leave me alone. Like, I was just trying to gauge if anybody would buy it. Now that I know there's this insane market for it, I'm going to back out.
Right.
So he has what is, we've had a little bit of discussion about it, but what I believe is he has, the latest generation Bronco. He has the first 2-door Bronco that came off of the production line.
Okay.
Because he got like this plaque from Ford saying it's #1 of whatever.
Sure.
So he's like a Bronco guy, and as part of buying that first edition Bronco, you get a credit to like basically Ford's off-road driving school. And there's one in Moab and there's one someplace else. And we kind of talked about like, at some point we need to kind of do that. And then I texted him and I was like, hey, I got tickets to the Wu-Tang Run the Jewels show in Denver, and I'm going to go. Do you want to go?
Yeah.
Which turned into like, hey, we're going to fly into Denver on Thursday and go see a concert Friday night and fly out on Saturday, which turned into maybe we should fly in on Saturday and then go off-roading in Moab on Monday in Broncos. And then I was like, this whole thing is taking a complete life that I never intended for it to, but I'm down about it, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, how many times do you get a chance to go off-roading Broncos in Moab? So, yeah, and Shane saying, have there been any issues with the first-gen Broncos? Like, not that I know of. It's been pretty his has been pretty flawless in terms of there was some, software upgrade for the entertainment thing, but that was it. Otherwise, well, I'll take that back. So the hard tops for the first-gen Broncos, specifically the 2-doors, had like a casting problem where it was called the snakeskin issue. There you go. Ando's kicking the door down, taking his son to see Wu-Tang and Nas on
He's
Sunday in
gonna,
Melbourne.
he's
Like,
gonna,
holy shit, dude.
he's gonna learn
Right.
something.
Yeah, he is. Um, but the first gen Broncos had some issues with casting on the hardtop, so he got the hardtop replaced. It was called like the snakeskin issue because there's like some honeycomb substrate under the top, and it wasn't like cast properly, so you could kind of still see that substrate through
Mm.
the external. But like when we picked it up, he's like, "Yep, it's got the snakeskin issue." So it was a whole thing. Like we drove up to West Virginia to get the Bronco, um, got it, came back, opened up a case with Ford, and they swapped out the hardtop under warranty. But other than that, it's been pretty awesome. And again, he figured out the whole reservations process and all this other shit, right? So he had 3 reservations for Broncos. He had one for the one he owns. He had one for a Raptor that he didn't take delivery on, and then he's got another one he's trying to get one of the Heritage Limited Broncos. But long story short, all of that means that he got a spot in the Ford off-road driving school. So then he's like, yeah, and I can take, up to 2 more guests at like $300 a piece. And I'm like, well, shit, sign me up. Like, if we're gonna go,
Right.
may as well go.
$300.
Yeah. So the plan is, we come in, go to Moab, dork around and we haven't figured out, like, are we actually going to leave Moab? Are we going to go somewhere in between Moab and Denver for a couple days?
Yeah.
Don't know. Apparently there's loads of stuff to do between Moab and Denver.
Yeah, that's what we were going to. We were going to drive out, and we can chat more about this, Chuck. But we were going to go. We were going to drive out tonight after work, and then tomorrow we were going to go because we weren't going to just do like a Friday Saturday thing. It's like 5 hour drive. It's like just too far to piss around for a day.
Right.
So we were going to take tomorrow off, do the BMX thing tomorrow, mountain biking, which was like $80, dirt cheap. We were going to camp. So I don't know what you guys are doing.
Okay.
So we're staying and then on the way back, then Saturday we were going to hike and do all that fun stuff, which is great. Sunday hike in the morning, and then Sunday, instead of just driving straight back, I think we had like a hot spring. Forget where, Glenwood Springs, I want to think is the town. It's like dead center. It's like 2.5 hours. Badass looking place. I mean, I don't know if you and your buddy want to go there, but it was like $30 or something like that, maybe $20, which we obviously aren't going to anymore. So I think we just don't. I think we just eat that money. But it breaks up the trip pretty nicely, is what I'm saying. And I know like you'll go through like some of the ski towns. You go through like Idaho Springs. I think on the way out you'll get a chance to drive on I-70, which is the worst highway in probably the entire world. You might be good right now because ski season's over, but I think you might, depending on when you guys come back. Like I wouldn't come back on like a Saturday or Sunday. I'd make sure I got back to Denver on like a Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
Or Wednesday. Like you don't want to. It's horrible, man.
I think so. Our plan is we go to Moab, we do the off-road stuff on Monday, probably hang out and just dork around in Moab on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Then it's Wednesday's up in the air. Thursday we come back to Denver and we hang out in Denver, Thursday night, and the show's Friday night. So we'll figure something to do around Denver on Friday.
Thursday night we can link up.
Oh yeah.
I don't fly back. I don't fly back until I think we're going to grab it's going to be an early flight. I think it'll probably be like a 6 a.m. flight on Friday.
Okay.
But Thursday night, if you and your buddy are around, that's definitely.
There'll be a couple of us. It's me and 3 other dudes.
Yeah, totally.
Which one of them was like, isn't interested in anything. He's like, I don't want to plan anything. I don't want to, like, I'm along for the ride, and basically like I'm there to restock on weed. And I'm like,
sweet.
I'm like, okay, like that works too. I was like, the only thing I'm going to request is that you not restock on weed before we go to Utah. Don't bring a bunch of weed with us to Utah, because that shit's illegal there, and I'm not looking to catch a case because your ass can't handle doing a couple
2
days.
Yeah, about it. Yeah.
So
I mean, I doubt I mean, the likelihood of you guys, again, I don't know where you guys are staying and what Moab, but it wasn't a problem. I don't think it was a problem with the group that I was planning on going with this weekend, who was pretty adamant about about doing the same. I mean, we were camping, right?
Yeah,
So I
no,
don't
I
know if that's.
mean, I think, so one of the guys is like, yeah, we need to sleep out under the stars. And I'm like, I don't know about all that.
First of all,
Um,
I had one of the knuckleheads that we had dinner with last week, who was going this weekend as well. He was like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna sleep out in the hammock one night or something." And I was like, buddy, I was like, I don't know if you've like done any
fucking
sort of
cold,
research.
man.
I was like, it could be 85 degrees, like middle of the day in Moab. Like it gets hot as shit.
Right.
I go, but it's May in Moab, dude. Like it's like
But
it's
it's
gonna be 40
28
degrees.
degrees at night or some
Yeah,
shit.
like I'd say like you're looking at like 40 is like a good temperature. And like sleeping out in a hammock at 40
Nope.
is not.
Uh-uh.
And not to mention like, I don't know why I was the only one who like looked into this, because they like sent like our campsite, and I like looked where our campsite was in relation to the whole freaking national park.
Right.
Like we were like, let's call it 50 to 100 yards away from like a moving water, like a river or something like that. And I was like, during the day, like I know they have like mosquitoes, whatever, bugs and shit, insects and stuff that are out there that like I think you might probably want to be a little bit worried about. Not like it's going to be like, life or death, but I was like, I don't know how comfortable it's going to be just like sleeping outside like next to this riverway in 40-degree weather. Like,
Right.
I don't know, so anyway,
No,
I don't have to deal with
that's
it.
the whole, like, we haven't really talked about this, but you know what?
Yeah.
Like, we can find a glamping scenario where somebody has like a big expedition, like canvas
Right.
with a wood burning fireplace in it. I am completely down for that.
Well, it's
But
funny. I don't know if Adam's still here. Adam drives a Tacoma, and he hikes way more than I do. And he's got like the rooftop tent on his truck that I've seen.
oh
That's
yeah.
freaking.
Yeah.
That's real bad. I mean, that's like such a Colorado thing. Like it's kind of funny to joke about, but
Oh, that's my
I
buddy
mean
Jeff in California has the same thing.
it takes you. I mean, again, like if camping on the ground is not your thing because of a bunch of different reasons, camping on top of your truck, 8 feet off the ground, seems a little bit nicer to me.
Yeah.
So, which is funny, but yeah, so he's got a good setup there. But no, I mean, are you guys gonna like just stay in like a hotel in Moab, like in the town or whatever city?
I'm more of an Airbnb kind of verbo traveler. Like,
Or
I
Airbnb,
hate hotels with a fiery passion. I hate hotels.
I'm getting there with all my travel.
And more to the point, like when I get up in the morning, like what I want to do is roll by a grocery store and get the shit I want to eat for breakfast and be able to have what I want to eat for breakfast, not be stuck with like some continental buffet or whatever other crap, right?
Plus cereal.
Just the whole, right, exactly. A bowl of cornflakes. Or, freaking, you go international and like everywhere has the British breakfast. I'm like, I'm fucking tired of British breakfast, all right? I don't want any more stewed tomatoes for breakfast.
Anything else?
Right. Anything
I'm with you
else
there.
but fucking baked beans and tomatoes and mushrooms for breakfast. Just no thank you whatsoever. So, it's interesting. But yeah, I mean, we haven't gotten even together to talk about like lodging and all that other shit because, when you're traveling with other people, it's not like I can just go, cool, I found Airbnbs and we're staying here, and here. It's the fucking democratic process of traveling with other people. And you're like, what about this? And what does everybody think about this place? And is this okay? The one saving grace is the dude that's in it for the weed doesn't give two fucks where we stay.
I was gonna say it sounds like you got one guy who you could just take wherever. So I mean, he's probably happy to just follow someone's lead and be like, oh man, I got a place to sleep tonight. This is awesome.
100%. He's like, I'll be taking this 100-milligram edible and I'll see you guys in 2 days.
Right. You could told me we're at 3 different Airbnbs. Yeah.
Right. He doesn't care, and we're gonna like, okay, dude, get in the car.
Yeah.
Where's the car? Right over there. Okay, great. I'm gonna go get in the car, and he's just gonna freaking dissociate from life for a couple of days.
Good for him.
So yeah, it'll be the interesting process of negotiating out where we're gonna stay and all that other junk.
Right.
Where I'm I kind of have a general rule, like when I go travel, like especially like Airbnb stuff, I want to stay in some place that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
You'll be
I
able to. I think you should do like a quick search on like
oh,
VRBO, and we did it, and it's there's some pretty wild spots in Moab. Like if you want to like sleep in like I'll just use like an Airstream as an example, which you guys obviously aren't going to do
oh, I
with four
would
guys.
totally do that.
With four guys, I'm saying, but like I think like weird. I think we even looked at maybe because we got I think we ended up getting a hotel for tonight that we canceled, but we were looking at like Airbnbs for the Thursday night, and like there's a couple places that like those houses that like built into like the side of like rocks and mountains and shit like that, like that you would
Oh, yeah.
never get a chance to ever stay
Right.
in. Those were like what we were looking
Oh
at.
yeah.
I'm the same way. I was like,
No,
something
I'm
weird.
totally about that. Like I want to show up to that place and go, this is some place that I would never in a million years have access to.
This is out of the Jetsons.
Right. Right. I mean, it's like what I'm going to do is sit here and have 3 fantastic beers and do nothing and just
Right.
look at this giant glass wall and all
Right.
the stars and scenery and shit
Yeah.
beyond it. Like this is going to be my television screen for the night as I have 3
Yeah.
beers and then I just go to sleep right in this chair.
Right. Yeah. No, I think you guys will be able to settle on some cool stuff.
Oh yeah. Like if there's a hot tub, even better.
Are you guys are you renting the Bronco from the airport? Obviously, you guys are getting a rental car, right? And the Broncos the Broncos are already there.
Yeah, so yeah, it's the whole like you go to Moab and they've got the full on like Sasquatch Broncos and the whole bang.
Gotcha.
So it's I hope we'll get to drive one of the Raptors when we're there. Maybe we won't. I don't know. I mean, it's somewhat irresponsible to give an off-road car like that to just some rando that walks in off the street.
Right.
But
Hey, watch this 2-minute tutorial.
Right. Watch this 2-minute safety video about how to turn the 4-wheel lockers on and
Yeah.
get pointed
Don't
that
kill
way.
yourself. Yeah.
Right. Take 600 horsepower and head up the mountain that way. Like
Yeah. Don't roll back on yourself.
right. Go fast. To use Ken Block's phrase, go fast and don't die.
Well, yeah. R.I.P.
Right. So, yeah, the Bronco thing will all be taken care of, and that was the whole like, oh, we can get a minivan in Denver. I was like, I don't want to rent a minivan.
Yeah.
Like we can do better than a minivan, I promise.
Yeah, I mean, like the rental, like the coolest part, like DI Airport blows. Like it sucks, and the whole setup sucks, and everything about it sucks. But I will say, when you come here, you get like a pretty good selection usually on rentals. Every time that I've needed one, like Shane was asking about read this sign here, credit card. Yeah, exactly. Asking about the Broncos or whatever. Like people out here like drive Broncos like they're like freaking Ford Fiestas.
Oh,
like it's just like someone's like everyday car. Like so you'll like if you guys wanted like a Bronco from Enterprise or whatever, or like a 4Runner, like it's just gonna be there waiting for you, like you're renting a freaking Chevy Malibu.
Oh, that would be awesome.
So don't take the minivan. Like grab something that you've never driven before because like that's what Denver has. Like I don't know, it's like the best selection of cars I've ever seen. It like I go to when I fly into like Orlando or like freaking Philly, Boston, like all the places I've been traveling. It's like, all right, do you want the Hyundai Elantra or do you want the Chevy Malibu? And I'm like, shit, which one do I want? Like I guess we'll go Chevy this week and next week I'll go Elantra, but like I never get like anything sweet, and I have like pretty high status with like national.
Yeah. Dude, I'm excited. So today, long story short, but so through COVID, there was a whole like trip to Hawaii planned, and it couldn't happen because of COVID. So we were sitting on a bunch of flight credits. So we're going to go to France for the holidays at the end of the year. And so part of that is we've been to Paris a lot, and we're like, cool, let's fly in and out of Paris, but let's book some side trips.
Sure.
So one of the side trips we're talking about is to Normandy for a couple days, and it's like rent a car and drive to Normandy.
Sure.
And so Sarah reserved the car today, and she sends me a text, and she's like, here's what I got. And I'm like, it's a fucking Renault station wagon manual. And I'm like, yes.
That's my wife.
Right. I'm like, awesome. I get to row the gears all over, because France is a right-hand drive,
Yep.
right-hand side of the road drive like us.
Sure.
So there's no anxiety about driving on the left-hand side of the road or whatever. I'm like, wait a second. So you got a French car that's not sold over here, and it's a manual, and it's a station wagon. Like, holy shit. Like, you hit the
Jackpot.
holy grail of like everything I could want in a car rental in
Right.
France. Like,
Right.
bring it.
That's
Like,
awesome.
I'm going to sleep in the station wagon. I don't care what the Airbnb looks like.
Yeah,
I'm
you
going
guys
to,
take that.
right. I'm going to spoon with this car for 3 days.
Yeah, hopefully it's got wood panels. The old beavers. Anyways, but
The
no,
family
that'll be sweet. But yeah, no, we will when you I mean we'll obviously have something dialed in, but like the day that you guys get in, we'll do like we'll get anyone who's in the area
Yeah. So
around if they want to be around.
on September the 2nd, we're talking about in the afternoon, early evening, whatever, on September the 2nd,
Yep.
getting any and everybody in the Denver area. Nathan from C Plus is talking about driving up from Salt Lake City for it. So
No shit. I was talking to him the other day.
yeah, so I mentioned in our questions for tonight, like, hey, should we do a meetup in Denver? He was like, hell yeah, I'll drive up from Salt Lake City.
Also,
I'm like,
his background is wild, by the way. Like he's also like he works at Snowbird. So it's like
okay,
he's like he like works at Snowbird, he works at like Rocky Mountain Leather Supply and then
right.
makes stuff and I was like, well, I'm probably coming out to Utah next year because that'll be like our trip. We'll do like 2 days at Snowbird, hit up a couple of the other Utah mountains or whatever. So I was like, I'm gonna come out next year, but I had no idea that he was gonna come up for this thing. That'd be wild. But yeah, I think realistically, I want to say eight or nine people that I know of that would, that are at least in the area that I think we could invite, and keep it low key or whatever. And maybe it's just like beers and dinner or something or whatever, so there's not like, weird dinner plans, like with sit down dinner, but, I think it'd be cool. Like, I mean, I'm definitely down for it. I'm sure Adam, if Adam's around, it's a Friday, which he's probably not around until later on in the evening. He'd come around. It's a Saturday. Well, he's still not around. He works on Saturdays too, so he'll be out. But he'll be able to come by later if we do like 7 or 8. I think that's when he gets off work. So
perfect.
We got at least 3.
We'll only be 50, 11 beers in by 8
Well, yeah, your buddy will have 700 milligrams of dope in him, so he'll be a zombie.
Exactly. But he'll be drooling in the corner. We don't have to worry about him.
Yeah, just you. Yeah, that guy over there. He's a party favor. Just let him sit there.
Exactly. Like we'll feed him a burrito every so often, and he's good.
Yeah, and a couple of Cheez-Its and maybe a goldfish. But yeah, no, I will. I'll put us on a group chat once you have your plans figured out as far as when you're coming in, Chuck. We will. I'll reach out to all the people that I realistically know that do this kind of stuff in the Denver area, maybe even Boulder, because I think there might be 1 or 2 people that are kind of up there. I mean, there's a guy up in Steamboat Springs, which is like 3 hours away, which is tough. But I'd invite him. He's a good dude. So anyways, we got like 10 people.
Oh yeah.
That I think we.
Yeah, I mean, plus there's a couple other folks that I know in Denver that, I mean, we could easily have a group of like 20 people to get together.
Oh yeah, totally.
And ideally, I would love for it to be something that you guys carry on. And it's like, hey, once a quarter we're doing the Denver Makers Meetup or whatever. Yeah. And just pick a brewery and everybody get together once a quarter and or whatever frequency y'all want to do, but just do the, more frequent meetups than, because there's a bunch of people there. Totally. That.
I mean, I've personally met like 4 or 5, like myself, which is wild because I know, you and I can joke about it, but like, the time of like, hey, like, let's promote each other and, community, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
It's like, well, like my question, and this isn't a knock on anyone, is like, I think everyone like is really excited and ecstatic to pump that out like on social media, like, oh, community, blah, 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 support each other. It's like, but once there's like an opportunity to like actually be a human being and interact with other people, like no one's actually doing that. Like everyone's gonna like jump on a DM and like say, hey, yeah, like, you know, support this, that, or the other thing, or hey, it'd be really cool to meet up, but then no one actually does it. And like I
Right.
feel like I feel like you've done it. Like you've made an effort to do it with people in Atlanta. You got your thing coming up. Was it this next weekend? Next weekend?
Yeah, it's next weekend.
Yeah. So you got that. Like I've met 5 or 6 people here in Denver. You know, Adam's become like one of my really good friends, and I don't know. It's just something where I'm like, I have no problem being like, yeah, let's just go, like you said, have a couple beers and shoot the shit. And, you know, we don't need to necessarily talk about like leather crafting or any of that other stuff. So yeah, I mean, that is, me and Adam have talked about it on the side about just like, you know, because I know he knows a couple other people that I don't know. And we were like, dude, we just got like 10, we just rattled off 10 names in 30 seconds. Like, what's the,
absolutely.
what's the worst that happens? You go and hang out with 7 other awkward people that look a lot cooler on Instagram than they are in real life. Like, okay, fine, we're gonna have a beer and it's gonna taste fine, you know. Like,
Right.
I have no problem doing that. Like, but yeah, so yeah, hopefully we'll see how it goes. I mean, if we do it and then we keep it rolling or whatever, I think there's some long term plans there. I think, and the people out here, I think everyone like kind of like, I don't know, when I think about these kind of things, and I'm sure you have this thought too, it's like, I don't know, I go back to like the whole like secrecy, privacy part of this world where it's like, you know, this is my world and I live in this world and I don't want people to, you know, do what I do or steal my ideas or this, that, or the other thing. Like I'm just going to run my small business as my own thing. And obviously I don't think that way. You know, so it's like, why not just get together and shoot the shit and, you know,
Yeah, I mean
about it.
and I think, you know, especially with the local stuff, that's kind of the first step in, you know, doing collab stuff because like
Sure.
you've done some, you know, a t-shirt drop with Proper Penguin. I mean,
Yep.
so that's part of getting to know people and figuring out, you know, if you connect a little bit and like minds and whatever. So it's getting to know other people to do what you do. I'll say yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say it's great from like, I mean, the other thing too is like, as um, you know, I guess with your relationship, probably more with districts, so more than anyone else, like individuals, I guess. But like, there's been times where Adam's been like, hey, like I saw that you had X, Y, and Z leather. I'm gonna swing by and grab something, and I'm like, yeah, fine, like come by and grab whatever the freak you want. Like Adam's seen my workshop. I've seen his workshop. You know, they're both spare bedrooms in our house. It's like, you know,
Right.
they're nothing fancy or whatever. But like, I think that's really cool. Like Adam's space was the first space that like, since I've been doing this now for 5 years, that I actually saw like, wow, like someone else kind of works in the same capacity that I do. They might not highlight that and show that, you know, from behind their camera, behind their cell phone, which is really interesting. But like, wow, this is pretty validating that like someone else is doing the same thing that, you know, I'm doing. You know, so there's like Bellwether, Navid, like he needed some Italian natural veg stand. He came by like a year ago, and I was like, yeah, man, here's some veg stand cut out like a panel form or whatever. And like, I was like, dude, just take it. You know, you don't owe me anything. Like we're just in the same neighborhood. Maybe I'll need a favor one day, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's so many like cool, I mean, you know, I think you probably have like having like a good friend relationship at like one end of the spectrum. And then the other end of the spectrum is like, oh, this is just fucking super weird and whatever. This was like, you'd only do this one time, but like there's a middle ground there where, you know, people can have a good time, drink a couple beers and, you know, shoot the shit about, you know, different things and see kind of where it goes. And not to mention like, you know, like you said, maybe even come together like at some point, like in a perfect world for me is like we put together something where I don't know if you rent out a space or we carve out some time or something on a day or whatever. And like all 10 of us like got together with like our own setups and like sold stuff at the same spot. Right. And like,
Yeah,
if I sell something, if you sell something great, if I sell something great, I want us all to be happy and hanging out selling shit. And we have like a leather corner or something in a market with like 6 people that are selling shit. And I could care less if I make any money. We're all just doing it for a good time.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a fantastic idea. It's like cool, you know, if all of a sudden this evolves into, you know, every so often all the Denver leather crafters go, hey, cool, we're going to set up leather corner at whatever,
Right.
whatever brewery. And worst case, we just hang out for a couple hours. And if nobody sells anything, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's more
Well,
about the hangout than it is selling shit.
the other thing I was thinking too, because I think that's getting like, I don't know, 6 spaces, or how these places work. It's like, everyone rents out a 10 by 10 tent, or it gets like kind of tricky. My other thought was like, and I've even told Adam this because he doesn't do any markets, and I was like, dude, if you have shit, like if you have stuff that you've made, and like that, like I'll tell him 2 weeks from now, like if I'm gonna sit there and have 30 wallets and belts and bags and shit and stuff like that right there that like people are gonna look at, like I doubt if one person picked up a wallet that he had made with his logo on it or whatever and like looked at it and was like, dude, I really like this wallet out of all 40 that are here. Like, and they buy that one wallet, like, great. Like Adam wasn't there. He didn't have to spend any time on being there. Like, why wouldn't I, if someone's like in a perfect world, how I think this works is like, there's enough markets in Denver. It's literally like the market capital of the world. There's like farmers markets every day of the week. There's wild shit going on.
Right.
Like, why wouldn't I just grab like 6 of Adam's wallets or whatever and just have them there or whatever? If they sell, like, that's great. I give him 100% of the money. Like, I don't need to charge him like a freaking consignment or anything like that. He just doesn't have time to go to markets.
Yeah. And that's,
so, anyways.
Andy's bringing up in the comment, and I know something that I've talked about with her personally before here in Atlanta is just the thought of doing like a once a quarter, maker meetup and or swap meet where it's to the point of like, I've got half hides of all kinds of crap that, I'm not planning on making anything with. And if it speaks to somebody else, like, cool,
right.
let me either cut it in panels or bring it out and we can figure it out and we can swap.
It's like I mean, it sounds cheesy as shit, but it's like a potluck dinner, right? It's, I don't know. I mean, there's probably a lot of shit out there that you and I have never worked with or would love to work with, or a tool that, I know we talked about tools, like I probably don't need any more of them, but there's probably a tool that I'd love to say that I needed and would be interested in trading something for, you know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
I mean, there's a ton of cool little things. I mean, at one point, like probably, I don't know, 6 months ago, I talked with Brian from Rowan at length about this, just because, he was obviously doing his own thing with, the leather collective and whatnot. And he was like, dude, like, I'll come out. We'll like, because he had been hearing from like, a bunch of like newer crafters that I probably don't even know about that are in Denver. He's like, dude, do you know about this person? They're in Denver. I was like, I have no idea who you're talking about. It's like, I'm sure there's probably another freaking half dozen out there that like you and I just don't know. Right. And that's totally fine.
Right.
But, it'd be good to, there's also the ability to like, part of me thinks like, after doing this for a long enough time, like, in the shop that I popped up at this past weekend, it's a maker space, right? They do like workshops. The woman does jewelry. The woman does, I think one night they have like, watercolor painting, like a bunch of different things. Right. And she was like, hey, would you ever want to do like, leather craft here? And I was like, well, first of all, like I don't have the tools and whatnot to like be able to do this with more than like 2 people. So like I'd either have to invest in that, whatever. But the point of it is like, I could also see like something that was like, why not give back a little bit? And, maybe I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but you could also have something, a component of these things where you're teaching people
100%.
skills, right? Like not only are you swapping tools and leather and trying new things and having beers and whatever, but like you're also like, okay, well, this person actually just started and they want to learn X, Y, and Z. I might not bring my tools to where we're doing this thing if we're at a brewery, but like can at least give them some opinions and tips and so on and so forth.
Yeah, or I mean, if you got a maker space that could host that kind of stuff, I mean,
or that, yeah,
it's if I know Bill and I have talked about that with District because he has had multiple like, hey, if we do some education stuff, would you be willing to teach a class? I'm like, yeah absolutely.
Sure.
It's a little bit different being backed by a business that can stroke some of the costs for doing the class.
Right.
Right. But if there were like a local makerspace that were like, hey, we're gonna do some leather work and let's talk about a curriculum and maybe do a 100, 200, 300 level class.
Right.
And talk about like what would it take to and you could do stuff like stitching chisels from, Oka or whatever that aren't like super
Well, I
crazy
mean,
high quality.
the
Or
the thought of it, is honestly like if you could get together four plastic mallets, if you were to get four sets of chisels, a couple pieces of sandpaper, you don't even really need an awl, 8 needles, some thread, and four burnishing tools, you're probably fine. Maybe a little tokenol for people to share. I don't know. Water's fine. I mean, that's how I started.
yeah,
Um, and really, if you charge for a class, and I've had this thought over the last week, so it's very timely. But like, if you charge for that, whatever it is, $75 for the class, like, and you spend $500 on tools, like, yeah, you're probably going to take a hit like the first couple classes that you do. But like by class number 3 or 4, if you're charging $80 a class, like your tools are covered, and now you're actually starting to see a little bit of return on investment. Anyways, that's just a complete side story there. But yeah, I
yeah. I
like the
mean,
idea. I
it's
like the idea.
I love the idea. I would do it here in Atlanta if I thought there were legs for it. It's something I need to pick back up with Bill and just do the whole like, hey, look, if we open it up to like 4 to 6 spots, because Tandy used to do that kind of stuff. Maybe they still do. I don't know. I don't
No,
follow much anymore.
the one in Jersey when I first started, it was just so random that there was a Tandy in like freaking, it was like Wayne, New Jersey. It's like a kind of like an urban suburb. Like it's just not the spot where where Tandy would, like, you would envision a Tandy. And the first time I went in there, they were like marketing like a, like a whatever class, like a beginners,
Right.
make a card holder kind of wall class or whatever. I never went to them, but I don't know if they do them anymore or not, or if they just transitioned into God knows whatever else they're doing. I don't really follow much anymore, to be honest.
Yeah. So real quick, Thunder Chief Leather Goods saying, what's your go-to place to get hardware? For me, it's buckleguy.com.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not. Yeah, it's not. I don't even think it's a. I will say. I've had. Oh, the Devils just lost. Bummer. I will say that I've had like some good Japanese hardware come from Rocky Mountain. Like it's expensive and like a one-off belt buckle,
yeah.
and like one off like kind of like key clasps and key hooks and stuff like that for like kind of like those, like, I don't know, those motorcycle wallets, whatever you want to call them,
Right.
trucker wallets. I've had some good stuff there. But yeah, I mean, for me, I couldn't even. A couple other places are decent, but I mean, Buckle Guy, with how much they've just grown their product line, their hardware line in the last like 3 to 5 years,
Yeah.
is incredible. I mean, the amount of stuff that, like, I remember it was huge when they like got the black coated, like they got black coated hardware for everything. Like that was probably 2 or 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and I thought that was huge. And now they have pretty much any piece of hardware I think you would need.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple different sources. I mean, there's Buckle Guy, there's Weaver, who acquired Ohio Travel Bag,
Yeah, I've done
who
Ohio Travel Bag.
Yeah, OTB, Ohio Travel Bag, has a ridiculous amount of stuff.
Yeah, it's like overwhelming. But I remember looking at the website; it was like too much.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. They do make some quality hardware. I will say that for me, Rocky Mountain has good Japanese sourced hardware. District
Yep,
has a limited selection of good Japanese sourced hardware. Buckle
it's
Guy has,
usually sold out too at
yeah,
District every
usually
time.
sold out. Buckle Guy has a ton of really great hardware that's always fully in stock or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
never have had a problem with it.
yeah, plus all kinds of videos and everything else on how to use it and all that other good stuff. So there's some good stuff. Black,
And not to mention,
go
yeah, sorry, just last thing
ahead.
I'll
Yeah,
add on that, Chuck. Like I think the cool thing about Buckle Guy too, and what they've done a much better job of, I think, since, I don't know, the first time I probably ordered from them, when I was like, buckleguy.com is the cheesiest website I've ever heard of. Like, why did someone tell me to go to here to get leather? I was like, I'm never going here, and then haven't stopped. But
right.
the one thing that they've gotten a lot better at is, like, since so much of this hardware, especially when you're talking about like grommets and feet and some of the other stuff that you're using on bags and closures, and like some of them require like their own tools, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
um, and I think Buckle Guy makes it like literally as foolproof as possible for people, right? Like if you buy this hardware, buy this, like put it in your cart now because you need this to assemble this, right? And
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
again,
Absolutely.
like when 4 or 5 years ago, and I was like, oh, I've never worked with, this kind of closure in my life. What the hell do I need to do? Or, why do I need to have like a special setting tool or whatever for this rivet? I'll just do it on my own. And then obviously failed, and then went back and ordered it from Buckle Guy again and spent, $8 on shipping for a $10 product, when I could have just probably lumped it into a larger order and got free shipping on it. Just order through Buckle Guy.
Yeah. I will say, and yeah, Deborah's mentioning Made on Jupiter. So for those that are interested in doing like the really high end, like European style stuff, Made on Jupiter's good. Colombo's kind of like the super high end European source for stuff, but Colombo has an MOQ that's kind of hard to hit.
Sure.
So they've got a minimum for orders that if you're ordering directly through Colombo, it's like you have to order a minimum of 6 pieces. And if that 6-piece, lock closure class for a European style bag is $25, you have to spend $150 to get one of them.
Right.
Because you have to order 6. Like their MOQ kind of makes it hard to deal with unless you know somebody else that's doing similar stuff. So it's, I mean, there's a known kind of spectrum of hardware stuff, and everybody kind of picks their own deal. Like I have personally kind of settled on, Buckle Guy as a first choice, and then other suppliers if it doesn't work out. And I think the interesting part, Buckle Guy just introduced, like in the last week or so, a rewards program that I don't think like Eric has hit on, or Buckle Guy kind of soft launched it.
Yeah,
but
they threw it in there last week.
Yeah,
and the best part is it wasn't first thing. I'm sure you did the same thing too, Chuck. Like just like a slimy bastards that we are. I was like, I'm gonna log into my account. I guarantee they retroactivated this thing. I guarantee I got 1 billion points.
Yeah,
no. Started from 0.
No, and that's because I just ordered a bunch of stuff for a bag commission.
Same.
Where I was like, God damn it! I just ordered like $150 worth of stuff.
Yep.
Literally like 2 days before they announced it.
100%.
Like, God damn it! Why does that count?
Yeah, I ordered. I had four 2 square foot, or sorry, 4 2 square foot panels, so $40 a pop or whatever they are.
Yeah.
Cool $160 plus some other. There was like a $200 order. That was like I think it was like the day before, and I wasn't gonna. I wasn't going to be the person who reaches out. I was like, "Hey, can you throw this on the bonus program?"
Right, exactly. Like I'm not going to be that guy.
Right.
So Black Coast Valley Leather is mentioning, he's going back to the whole part about where you saying, "Hey, Bellwether, slide me at whatever you want me to sell, and I'm happy to sell it for you."
Yeah.
He's saying whoever offered to do that for him wanted to take 10 points.
Sure.
Which isn't necessarily unreasonable. It depends on what your payment processing fees are. So if that person is just receiving straight cash for your stuff, that's kind of bunk. Just pass it through.
Yeah.
But if they're taking credit cards and such on your behalf, they're taking a lump on the payment processing fees. So, if you're just for even numbers, if you're selling something for $100,
right,
they're going to take.
Right, and I use my POS.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's more about like where I'm coming from with that, and I totally see where you're coming from with that, Chuck. And it's the same thing we've talked about with Melissa as far as like, consigning in shops as well, right?
Yeah.
Like this woman the other day offered me. She's like, "Yeah, you feel free if you want to put anything in the store. I do like a 70-30 split." And I was like, "Oh, 70% for me, 30% for you." And I was like, "That's actually like, I'd rather have my stuff sitting in your store versus, sitting on my shelves." Like, and probably like if I were to do a wholesale order for you anyways, like I'm not getting 70% of what I sell the ball for. I'm probably making it for you at 55 to 60%, right? So anyways, but my thought was like, as far as like building community and whatnot, is like I think there's so many makers here in Denver that either aren't able to do markets, aren't able to get out there in front of people, so on and so forth, right? Where I think there's a way where, also not to mention like going to some of these markets are expensive, right? Like spending $250, $300 today to pop up somewhere is like, it's not uncommon.
Right.
$500-$600 for a weekend at some of these places if you really think about it. So like again, is there a world where you can have a tent that instead of saying HFA goods on it says fucking dumb leather guys, right? And it has
Right.
all of our shit there, and one person stays there Saturday and one person stays there Sunday, and everyone wins and whatever, right? Like I think there's a way that works out if you get the right group of people on board with it, right? Like if someone's super worried about their stuff selling, then they're probably not the person to kind of work with. And I've only run this idea by Adam, who's a friend and a buddy of mine who like we get along with completely fine.
Right.
And it might get sticky down the road or whatever. But yeah, that's kind of where I was going with as far as like not charging some. But I think, again, there is part of me that's like, hey, like if I'm using a POS system, let's say Shopify, for example, and they take, Stripe takes 2.9% and Shopify takes 2.8%. I'm technically out 6% of the sale, right? So,
Right.
should I charge you $4 on a $50 wallet? I guess technically, but
Right.
I probably wouldn't do that. There was one other question too, Chuck. I think it was, where do you see your leather journey going in the next 5 years? I'll let you go first. That's a loaded question.
But yeah, I mean, that's I don't know where it's going tomorrow versus 5 years from now. I mean,
That was that was identical to what I was going to say. I
yeah,
don't
I
know
mean,
what I'm doing like in 5 minutes.
right. I mean, that's for me. Part of doing this is not my day job. Means I don't have to put that kind of rigor and thought into it. My thought process for doing this stuff is probably got about a 4 to 6 week runway, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I don't put a ton of thought into it. I'm just like, hey, that sounded like a good idea, so I did it, and then I'm done with it, and I'm on to the next thing. Like I'm not thinking about a strategic plan to grow this to my primary source of income and or any of the rest of that stuff. I'm like, hey, how am I going to be entertained and have a good time at this for
Right.
the next 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks or whatever. 5 years is a really long time. Maybe I'm doing this in 5 years, maybe I'm not, I don't know. I would like to
Right.
think that I would be, just because I enjoy it. If you ask me to paint the perfect picture of what I saw for me 5 years from now, it's almost doing completely custom stuff and having a backlog, 6 months deep of custom work. That would be my dream of this whole deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you answered that first, because I think just kind of opens the door to me kind of stealing the same answer, I guess, because I mean, my gut reaction to that question is, I have like my gut reaction is I have no idea. I don't even know when I'm going to cut into this piece of leather that I'm staring at right now for a project that I should have started on Monday.
Right.
And I think that's, and I have no idea and have never met Thunder Chief Leather Goods before. Obviously appreciate you popping on here, but I think that's the cool thing about listening to Chuck and myself is that I don't think either of us have like a real plan. We're not the type of people like that are going to sit here and like, I don't know, maybe get into the nitty gritty of the business of this thing, like a quarter or like some of the other people that do this stuff full time. So it's just like kind of raw truth, from us, which I think is probably pretty common across most people who are doing this stuff. I don't think there's a ton of people here listening to us or whatever in general that are doing this stuff full time that need to worry about kind of, what the 5-year plan is, I guess. And if I had to worry about the 5-year plan, I probably would just collapse under the pressure of like, thinking about that. Right. So for me, again, if I'm painting the perfect picture, I think for me, first and foremost, I hope that I'm continuing to do this, right? Because I do enjoy it. And I hope I continue to enjoy it in 5 years. And for me, I think I found, or I think I'm going to continue to find over the next like 4 to 6 months, like throughout the spring and summer, that my passion lies in like selling my stuff in person and being in front of people and shooting the shit with people and, having that whole interaction or whatever versus, and we're feeding the beast right now, but versus, hopping on an instant grab live or posting a photo or a cheesy reel of myself where I have, jigs and stuff set up to like get the perfect photos so that I can get one website sale, So I see myself probably if I had to guess, moving away from Instagram. I think you have to have a presence with it in anything that you do nowadays, which is kind of the hard part. But
Right.
probably eliminating any sort of web presence, to having like an Instagram DM thing that results in like custom orders, like Chuck's talking about, because I think we can both agree that like we get a ton of joy out of doing those like bigger, high reward, high risk projects.
Oh, 100%.
And then popping up, like in a perfect world, popping up like 3 to 5 times a year, and just working on having stuff that you can only get at these markets, right? And starting to carve out like a little spot where people are like, hey, and again, I'm not there right now, but hey, in order for me to get one of these wallets, like I got to go to one of these 4 to 6 events or whatever that I know Tyler's going to be at, and I only know that he's going to be at it because he posted, one photo on Instagram highlighting it or something like that. So,
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's entirely the scenario. Like I do business planning and strategy for work. Like I don't want to do that for this shit.
No.
I spend all day helping people figure out how to make the most of their business and everything else. Like not in a million years do I want to do that for this.
No.
Yeah, I mean, and follow-up question was like, hey, did you guys ever take any online classes through like Leathercraft Mastercraft? I have not. I have known some folks who have spoken very highly of those specific classes. I've never taken them. If Eric were on, it's, a decent amount of what I've learned about leatherwork has come from Quarter Leather and Cloth and Hans Atelier on YouTube. Folks doing stuff on YouTube is how I've learned a majority of this stuff, and or just trial and error. I've never taken an in-person class for how to do any of this other than, I mean, obviously the metalwork side I have, but not for the leatherwork stuff because there's nobody local to me that's offering those kinds of classes. Even the videos that you can pay for, I've talked about, at one point doing 1 or 2 of those like more expensive online classes, but I haven't done those either. I've always just kind of like, fuck it. If anything, I've bought patterns online and worked through them myself independently and or along with whatever YouTube video goes along with the pattern. For me, that's where I've been with it. So, I wasn't willing to spend, the money on the Leathercraft Mastercraft, subscription or whatever else. Like it just hasn't seemed to be worth it to me. But he covers kind of an area of leathercraft that isn't a lot in the YouTube area where, so he does that more European style, like thinner leather, just the very kind of high-end classical European style stuff. That if you're into doing stuff like that, it's probably worth taking those classes to learn how to do all the techniques that are involved in that kind of leather work, which is not, I'm getting there, but I don't think I'm ready to pay for classes for that yet because I'm not making a ton of stuff that needs those techniques. I would say it's the whole, if you're going to pay for training, pay for training that's going to support what you want to do. Not just like to learn leathercraft shit or just to spend money or whatever. So it's, if you're going to pay for training, just be sure that you're paying for training that's going to get you where you want to go versus just spending idle time or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's probably where I would land on that answer as well. Like, what is the end goal for what your craft ultimately is, right? I think, for the average maker, and I'd throw myself in that category for sure, there's, especially nowadays, like there's plenty of people that like are making content and teaching and showing different things or whatever, to handle most stuff, right? Like I think it really gets into like, when you're talking about the mastercraft stuff, which I've looked at myself as well. I would never pay for whatever because it's just, number one, it's not my style. Number two, like I just don't envision myself making those kind of bags and crazy funky stuff and whatnot. I think like you really have to understand like what like what your style is, I guess. And for me, you know, again, 5, 6 years ago when I started doing this, there was only really a couple. You had Stock and Barrel, you had
Yeah.
you, you had Little King Goods, you had, or I think it's a Little King Goods, I'm not
Yep.
sure. And maybe like one or two other people that were like kind of pushing content, right?
Yep.
And like, you know, part of the vibe, or part of the reason I kind of create the way that I feel like I create 5 years later, 6 years later, with some refining and, you know, some, you know, getting lost and finding yourself again and getting lost and finding yourself again or whatever, is like, you kind of fall back to like, you know, where you originally, you know, what videos you started watching, or like kind of how you learned your craft yourself. Like the amount of people that in 2023 are using round dent, you know, punching irons is 100%, because 5 years ago they started watching whatever his name was, Cove Leather or whatever it
Yeah.
was, and Little King Goods and those guys, right? Like, that's why people are using main thread and round end, you know, pricking irons. You know, so I think the question is like, what is the ultimate end goal? Because I can't imagine anything worse than paying, I don't even know how much those classes are that you're talking about, Chuck, a few $100, you know, maybe even more than that, to not like really go down that avenue of like pursuing that style, which is very unique and takes a lot of time to like perfect.
Yeah.
You know, so
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, don't pay for a class that's $100 that teaches you how to hand skive, you know, stuff down to like 0.2 millimeters, so you can do a, you know, basically rolled edge around cardboard or whatever it is. So Andy's mentioning, if you want to try different types of leathercraft classes, Domestika is not that expensive. I'm not familiar with Domestika, but something good to check out. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different things you can get out of training. You know, just be sure that it's what you want out of it. You know, if you want to learn some stuff that they're teaching, absolutely take it.
yeah.
Just have the wherewithal to understand that, like, if you're, or the reason you're taking it for. So if you're taking it for, you know, just general knowledge about leathercraft, that's cool too. Just be sure you're getting out of it what you want to get out of it.
Right. I
So,
also think like if the answer, and this might sound like snooty, but like if the answer is like general leather knowledge, if like when you say, hey, what am I trying to get out of this video, and the answer is general knowledge of the craft, like you can find a free avenue to go down.
yeah, YouTube.
You know, to learn like general knowledge, right? Like, you know, how many millimeters should I be punching through? When should I use an awl? You know, certain things like that, right? Like, you know, how many pieces of sandpaper do I need to make somewhat nice edges? Because, you know, I think everyone will kind of debate that. My answer is going to be different than Chuck's, you know, but like I think you can get the gist of like, I need to sand the edges, because the first wallet I made, I can guarantee you, I didn't sand the edges. I had no, like, why would I need sandpaper on a leather wallet? Like, why would I think about that, right? Until I actually was like, holy shit, like that person actually has like kind of nice edges. I wonder how they got it. Oh, they added water. What a wild concept. Like they had a burnisher. Holy shit, that's crazy. And they sanded it in between. Wow. Maybe I'm going to try that on my next one, right? You know, so
Right.
I think you can figure that stuff out by you know, for free, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. I mean, for free, definitely through YouTube. And I will tell you, the first time I sat there and tried to burnish a chrome tan wallet, you're like, why is this not working? Oh, because you can't do it with chrome tan. That's why. Okay, now I got it.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, it all depends on where you are in your leathercraft journey. I would argue that like the leathercraft, mastercraft stuff is, you need to be a pretty advanced leather worker to get value out of that training. Same thing for like Peter Knits and some of those. Like,
sure,
when there's some of the more basic stuff that you can get that's free, but when you get to the part where you are medium to advanced to, you know, you're starting to, there's not a project that you've taken on that you don't have the skill to execute properly, like, and you start getting into different levels of stuff, then maybe those kinds of classes are appropriate at that point. But if you're relatively early on in the process, like, paying for that training is something that you can't even fully take advantage of yet, because you haven't mastered the basics.
Yeah,
Um,
and the last thing I'm gonna say, then I'm gonna jump Chuck just so I can have a nice hot glass of tea before I go to bed tonight because my throat's killing me.
nice.
The last thing I'll say, we've mentioned this on other lives, and it's something that I wish someone like had told me like from the jump is like I'd rather invest $20 in a good tool or a tool that I know I need that is going to help me whatever succeed versus $20 to an online subscription of how to get better at making X, Y, and Z pattern or whatever it is. Because
Yeah.
I think at the beginning, I'm still a huge believer that a lot of people either jump to tools because they see other people using them and they think that they need to use them when they don't even properly use the tools that they're currently, using, I guess.
Right.
Or they're just like there's things missing from their toolbox, right? Like there's certain things that like having a I'm just trying to think like having the right size edge beveler, right? Like instead of using like a freaking massive one like I had from the jump that I use on like my bags now, like having like a 0-0 edge beveler is going to make a huge difference, right? Otherwise, you're going to try and make wallets that have freaking half of an edge missing because you're using an edge beveler that's that thick, So I would say invest in the tools that are going to help you more so maybe than the added knowledge, I guess, because I think you can still find that stuff for free elsewhere as long as you're willing to put in the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's the stuff just because it's in my drawer. Like buying a proper skiving knife with $30 because these are $30. Buying a proper, unhandled flat skiving knife can do a ton for how you skive and practice with it and get some good material. Like I would argue you'd be better off spending $50 on quality leather to practice on than $50 on training.
Yeah,
So
100%,
either
without a doubt,
do
without
the
a doubt.
whole yeah, get to where you can pull a stitch line and stitch it straight before you worry about how to do rolled skived edges.
Yeah,
Um,
and do that stitch line on a single piece of leather with not four pieces glued together, a scrap piece of leather, and do it. And if you can make it straight there, then think about adding 2 layers of leather and 3 layers of leather and 4 layers of leather because I know like from firsthand experience, like, I was like, oh man, I'm so good at stitching. Like I feel like I'm getting it pretty straight, at this point. And the first time you go and stitch that 4.5, 5 ounce tandy leather and it's a card holder and it's 4 layers deep. And next thing you know, you're stitching through 20 ounces of leather. You're like, man, this looks a lot different. Like this isn't, like, why is this not punching through the same way? Or why is my stitch line not straight or whatever, So, yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in like Chuck just mentioned. I think that's a great example. Like spend $50 on leather that you're going to use and is going to be friendly to you, I guess, without jumping into like buying super high end stuff that you don't have a need to really use or ruin. I guess is really more where I'm coming from because there's nothing worse than being like, oh, I can't cut a straight line yet I just laid down 4 different wallets on this nice piece of leather that is basically ruined now.
right. The question was like, what is this knife? This is a crimson skiving knife, crimson hides. Um, Cheap, like honestly, if you want high quality cheap leather, go to the district live sales, which there's Thursday night we compete with district, but go to district and whatever Bill's got for a veg tan that's up there, or I mean honestly they have scrap leather boxes that are great for that kind of stuff too. So pick up
That was the
a,
other
a
thing.
scrap leather box from district or Rocky Mountain or whoever.
Yep.
Um, those
Yeah,
are excellent to practice on.
one of the things that I would 100% do if I did it all over again was like rather than buying like the other thing too. I think that people this is just like human nature. I think is like everyone gets enamored by how much they're getting, like how big they're getting or how much volume they're getting for the price, right? So like when you go to Tandy and you see that you can get a freaking half hide, which is 12 square feet or whatever for $49.99, you're pumped. You're like, wow, this is the best deal ever, right?
Yeah.
And then you realize that number one, when you first cut into, you're like, oh, this is pretty tough leather to work with. And number two, and I dealt with this, and I'm sure a lot of other people deal with this, is like, you don't just casually store 11 square foot of leather like that. You don't,
Right.
I don't have the rack that you have behind you, Chuck. Like I have
Right.
I have a cardboard box right here. That's like it's a 10 by 10 square, and it's probably 5 foot long, that has 5 rolls of what you have like rolled up into this box in like the most tight cylindrical packed pattern so that it fits all in the size box. And like you just don't need 12 square foot of whatever tandy veg tan, from the jump, right? So like spending, again, it's going to be shocking, but spending $40 on a 2 square foot panel of some Italian veg tan, or some I don't know, some Minerva or Botero, whatever it is, right? Like something that's like going to be, it's going to be challenging to work with for different components and aspects, and, so on and so forth. But you can actually use it, control it, and have space to work. And
Yeah.
odds are
That, and I would argue that having the appropriate thickness. So if you try and make wallets out of 5.5, 6 ounce leather, you're going to have a bad time with it. So it's worth, like, jump on, Bill's live sales, and he's got all kinds of stuff. And for $10, he'll split it down to 3 ounce. 3 ounce is the perfect weight for, making wallets and small goods, right? You can, when you double up 3 ounce on a key fob, or, you double up 3 ounce on a card holder, it's still not just that thick when you finish.
right.
That's at least my kind of perspective is like, yeah, spend $50 on leather, have it split down by whatever supplier to a proper good medium weight, like 3 to 4 ounce, and you will start to see that you have a whole lot more success with your craft because you're using the proper weights. And like, we've all been there, like a 5.5, 6 ounce, like tripled up on a card holder. By the time you try and punch through it, your punch line is no longer 90 degrees. It's kicked out and wonky as shit because you're trying to go through ridiculous amounts of leather. So anyway, I mean, we could go on for forever about that kind of crap, and have.
No,
So,
yeah. I don't even know. Like I can't see, for whatever reason. I got that glitch thing where I can't see like the new chat or whatever. So I haven't seen any of the questions or whatever. But I would say, depending on whoever's here right now, I don't know when we started or when you started, Chuck, adding these up to YouTube and whatnot. And I'm not putting us in the category of like, hey, like go and watch our videos, because we have we're teaching you how to do so. We're just shooting the shit. There's nothing, we've never shown anyone how to do anything on here. So we're not those people. But I will say that, like, if you're looking for just some like recommendations or, stuff that, we've struggled with that, I guess we're passing on to, newer crafters or whatever it is. I know we've talked about it a couple different times. I don't know if they were probably like in the first handful of whatever before I think you started maybe uploading these to YouTube, Chuck. But have a look and see if there's, sometimes we talk about actual good stuff that, like, I think it's been pretty straightforward and like helpful tonight. And some nights we go sideways and fucking talk about whatever, Fast and Furious and weird stuff, and that's fine. And that's the cool part about this. But I would say just check it out, because I mean I think you and I could go on for hours about like tips, things that we've learned, where to start, all the other stuff.
exactly.
And it's a rabbit hole.
Yep.
And with that, I know you're trying to have a hot glass of tea, and I'm trying to go to bed on time. So
for whatever reason, like Tuesday of this week, I woke up with like a wicked I don't know if it's allergies or whatnot. And then
dude, it's going around. Like I've been under it for a couple days, like not been feeling right, and just kind of congested and yuck.
That's what it is. It's like not enough to knock you down, but just like, it's honestly more annoying when it's just like I feel like I'm like a B+ when like I'm close to like feeling like I should feel good, but now it's like, I don't know if it's just from talking or whatever for an hour and a half straight, but like my throat's just getting dry. So anyways, I'm gonna jump off, but obviously, as always, Chuck, awesome. Awesome catching
Always
up.
good times.
We will keep it rolling, obviously, next week, and hopefully have Melissa and Eric back if Do you have any idea? Last question. Do you have any? Is she just living there? Did she just move there? She like.
I
I
think
know
she extended for a month, so she will be there for 2 full months. I think she's allowed to stay in the U.S. for a full 3.
Okay.
So my money, I'd probably be even money. They get another bit in. So I think the only thing that's going to somewhat get Melissa to go back to Canada is I think Eric's got renters that are moving into the area where Melissa's been sleeping. So there may be some people that are
she's been
yeah.
squatting.
So they may evict her next week and kind of, I think she was telling me, she's like, I may be sleeping in Eric's workshop. So that may be something that jumps her back out to Canada. Right. So Shane's bringing up squatters law as a real thing. So at some point she's going to claim eminent domain over Eric's workshop and just,
She
this is
owns
mine
it.
now.
Just change the logo.
Oh, yeah. No, it's the joke. She's like, the cats like me better than Eric at this point. So
Sure.
the cats have voted her the new overlord of quarter leather and cloth. So whether that happens or not, who knows? But yeah, hopefully we'll see them next week.
Right on. I had to throw it out there just because I haven't. I know both of them are under the weather, and I just like it's one of those things where I'm just like, man, like it seems like it's been a while. Like I mean, it's been at least 4 of these, at least,
Yeah.
where she's been in his presence or in whatever freaking Rhode Island or wherever the heck, whatever.
Oh yeah.
So like I was just Cape Cod, so I was just like, it's been a long time. Like this wasn't like a quick like two-week thing or whatever. Which I guess
it wasn't a little jaunty trip. It's been a mini reload.
Yeah. I was gonna say this is like almost becoming like almost like a sabbatical or something. Like she's taking some serious time.
Exactly.
Good for her. All right, buddy. I'm out of here. Good seeing everyone.
All right.
Good chat. I'll catch up with you guys.
Awesome.
Later.
Bye, guys.